to another episode of the Babcia and Yia Yia Travel the World podcast. It's a place where we like to spend some time talking about all things travel and how travel can be part of your lifestyle, whether you're hanging out at home or you've got boarding passes in your hands. Travel influences us every single day. My name is Alex. I play the Babcia role. I'm a mom, a teacher, a traveler, a blogger. You can find me over at www.tgctravel.com and an overall travel junkie. Meet my best friend, Terri.
Hi guys, I'm Terri. I play the Yia Yia in this. I am a mom, a teacher, and right now I'm a U.S. traveler. So today our big topic is we're going to be talking about Japan. We're going to share some things also that keep us travel happy. When we're out and about, we're going to talk about books, food, travel tips, and products that we love. And this is all going to start with a little segment we like to call Now Boarding.
In this week's Now Boarding, we are talking all about Japan. It's a place I love, very close to my heart. So I thought we'd start with some global book picks. My first pick is a children's book called How My Parents Learned to Eat. I love this story. It's an adorable story about a dad who's an American sailor and a mom who's a Japanese student, and how they wind up eating and how their child is influenced by their cultures. Totally adorable. And one of the books we profiled in our 10 books for 10 minutes over the summer. So a really great pick. What about you, Terri?
Well, for me, Japan is somewhere I've always wanted to go. I especially would love to come visited you. So I'm kind of like a newbie on this topic. So I did find a book called Things I Wish I Knew Before Going to Japan. And the author of this book lives in Japan. And so as you go through it, you're learning all these great facts and a lot of cultural information. So I really think it's a good book to read before heading over there.
A great starter travel guide. I agree. So my travel tip when going to Japan is to be a very good map reader so that you are able to navigate your way around the islands and also be able to use public transportation. Yet you do have to have your map skills in check. And we're going to talk more about that later, but I think it's a super good skill to have, particularly in Japan.
Okay. Well, my travel tip, and I like how this falls onto me, is tattoos. We're a family, minus my husband, that we enjoy our tattoos. Well, however, when traveling in some countries, maybe like Japan, this is not a common or desired thing. So please make sure you take something to cover up so you can hide your beautiful artwork so you're not, offending anyone.
True, very true in Japan. And you'll find that at more traditional areas
Mm-hmm.
that's an issue. Okay, let's talk travel products. I think our travel product choices this time around are so universal, but so Japan at the same time.
Yeah.
I learned to use a reusable bag in Japan more than any other place that I ever traveled in. In living in Japan, I got in the habit of carrying a reusable bag in my purse. And I I use it probably more than any other item as I travel the world.
Okay. And I love it. You really got me hooked on those reusable bags where I keep one in my purse
Mhm.
all the time, just in case.
Yeah.
Well, my travel product, like you said, is a universal, but I think more so like in Japan, you want to wear socks because there's a lot of places you go in, you have to take your shoes off. And
Mhm.
the great thing is if you like them, you can wear the tabbies socks that look like a pair of mittens on your feet.
Yes.
Your big toe has its own house.
Mhm. Yeah, they're super comfortable too. Like, I didn't think I would like them, and I like them more than I than I expected. It is a good idea. And if you're traveling there in the summer, I don't think it's the worst idea to throw a pair of socks in your bag, just so that when you do take off your flip-flops or your sandals, you can throw them on in those public places that do require you to take your shoes off. And it's more common than you may think. So I
I
do
think
like
I
that
just
idea.
want to wear my socks with my sandals.
There you go. I mean, there's
Don't
no
think I'm
quicker
not going to stick out.
there's no quicker way to stick out in a crowd than doing that, right? Okay. I do have one travel binge choice for this episode. There is an Americanized movie called Hachi. It stars Richard Gere, and it is based on the true story of a Japanese dog from the 1920s and 30s named Hachiko. And I have to tell you, this is very near and dear to my heart because I have a little dog that looks almost exactly like this dog. We bought our dog in Japan. And the movie is called Hachi. And it really gives you an idea of how the Japanese culture is very based on it's the foundation of respect for very clear things exists, and it is a huge part of this culture, which is what makes it so interesting. And this is a great starting point, this great movie Hachi. So I like that one. What about travel food, Terri?
Well, you know me. I'm always up for some Japanese food, but I think mine is sometimes more Americanized than we like to think about it. I
Mhm.
love what I like to call pot stickers, the
Mhm.
gyoza.
Yes.
I could eat them all the time, anywhere. They're delicious.
My feeling is the world is full of dumplings and we should try them all.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. One of my favorite things when we lived in Japan that we ate was at a restaurant called Sukiya. It was fast food, and it was Korean beef ball in
Mm.
the the Japanese, like the Japanese version of that, and
Mhm.
it was rice with this shaved, delicious beef on top of that with like scallions and spices. Oh my gosh, so good. My kids talk about this meal to this day, and it's probably one of the things that they miss from Japan more than anything else. It was just that good. That good.
Mm.
Yeah. Tell me about some travel tech.
Well, for me, I want you to think about when we're over there is that to make sure you have a personal, secure Wi-Fi spot
Mhm.
because Japan is full of hackers.
It
So
is.
definitely you want to make sure you have a secure Wi-Fi spot. You like how I'm using that word Wi-Fi? Do they
I
use
like
Wi-Fi?
it.
Do they say Wi-Fi in Japan? What do they say?
I think that they say internet. Internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying.
like
I'm gonna
Whippy.
go with
I
Wi-Fi.
like Whippy. Yeah,
Okay.
I
What
like it.
about you? Give us some tech.
Okay, I found this is not an app that I used when I lived in Japan. I found this new app. It's called Miss Green, and it's only for Android devices. However, this app is amazing. It's anime, so Japanese anime, and it's this tour guide named Miss Green who you can bring up at different famous landmarks throughout the country. And not only will she kind of give you a little bit of the background context, but she'll also tell you about any cultural um, changes that you should know about in visiting that particular site. So, like, you have to take your shoes off, or do not wear a hat in the garden, or be sure to bow when you are leaving, or, kind of like whatever it is. Wash your hands if you're at a shrine, all of those kind of things. She gives you the cultural information that you need in order to be successful at that spot at the same time. So I really kind of like this app. I looked into it and I felt like everywhere that I had been, the information that was on there was very accurate. So I was
Oh,
a
good.
fan. Yeah, I was a big fan of that one. Good choices for Japan this week. Terri, I have to tell you, I'm really excited about this show. This one's a big one for me.
Oh, I know, and I'm going to be the interviewer.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to play a game on this particular podcast because, for a little background information, my family, courtesy of the United States Navy, lived in Japan for several years and we adored it. We loved it so much. But Terri, you've not had a chance to visit the land of the rising sun.
No, I've not.
And you have asked me questions about Japan for years. So we thought we would pull all of those questions that were Terri's curiosities together with my experiences, and we would put them into one podcast to help people kind of enjoy the basics of what it takes to really get the most out of a trip to Japan. So that's kind of the premise for today. So I'm kind of looking forward to this. I think it's going to be very, very cool.
Okay, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
So we're gonna get back to basics. Let's start with basics.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing is Japanese etiquette. You know, everywhere you go, you need to know what the proper etiquette is. And I'm always one, that I'm clueless. What is it that what is it that we need to specifically know when traveling to Japan? Like what's socially acceptable, not acceptable?
Well, I think this is the perfect place to start because if there were two barriers that I think that come up for people saying they don't want to go to Japan, the first one is language, and we'll talk about that later. And the second one is knowing the social expectations. And I have to say this. The famous one of bowing, I think people kind of make like a comical thought out of it. It is taken seriously, and respect for age and place in society, all of those things really exist in a very modern society. And I think maybe that's what one of the biggest attractions is to Japan, is that they can have all of these traditional expectations and still have a completely modern society that functions well. So I love kind of the dichotomy of that. So if it were me and I were giving kind of the most basic advice about being in Japan for etiquette, you are the gaijin, you are the foreigner, and bow when someone bows to you, and kind of keep a straight back and kind of bow maybe kind of like 45-degree angle, and say thank you and please often. And you should probably know those words in Japanese. I will tell you, well, we'll talk about that more with language, but I think that that's pretty much the most important things. You'll get by with absolutely everything else. Everything else, they'll teach you along the way.
Okay,
So,
which
yeah.
kind of leads me into my next thought-provoking question here. Courtesy.
Mm-hmm.
How far, I sometimes feel that people come off sometimes a little hot and confrontational, and I've always learned that you can get more with kindness and courtesy. Does that work? Am I going to get anything special?
Okay, I have to say this. The pleasantries in Japan are very normalized. There are no raised voices. People don't talk in public areas out of respect for the others around them. So you won't find like noisy train cars or super loud restaurants. Like that's just not part of who they are and what they do. They are very concerned about how another person feels. They put that concept ahead of themselves, unlike many other countries. I mean, let's be honest, okay? So you won't find any of that. However, you will see that they follow the rules to the T in order to avoid any kind of angry confrontation or any kind of issue that they may have, and they use those rules to settle pretty much everything very civilly. Um Almost to a fault. And I think in America, we kind of have the European sensibility of like, if I tip the porter or I tip the bellboy at the hotel, I'll get better treatment. You're not going to get that in Japan. Everybody gets the best treatment. Nobody gets more, nobody gets less. We all get the best that we can offer. So, kind of asking for more is a bit insulting there, because they feel like, well, then you must not think I'm doing my job well. So I think that's very important. So there are no exceptions to anything. This is what my husband says: courtesy is king, but don't expect to get your way. Like it just doesn't
Oh,
happen.
it's not Burger King, right?
Right.
Where I can have it
Exactly.
my way? Gotcha.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, but it works though. It works very well. Once you get into it and you kind of accept it, you'll be appreciative of it.
Gotcha. Okay. As I am doing some research and checking things out and everything, I notice a lot of pictures. I see a lot of things when I'm Googling, there's a lot of umbrellas in Japan. Is this a
Eh,
thing?
It's a thing. Eh, I don't know anybody who doesn't have like half a dozen cheap 100 yen store umbrellas by their front door. There is a rainy season in June and July, um, and a little bit into August, but mostly like late spring, early summer. And it rains a lot. As a tourist, here's my feeling, and I believe this about anywhere: I would not waste the weight and the bulk of an umbrella in your suitcase. In all honesty, the second it rains in Japan, everybody rolls out their little umbrellas and you buy one for 100 yen. That's like literally $1. And you use it and then you just kind of leave it at a hotel somewhere. I think it's far easier. It, you're not, having one more thing to carry. So, but you will see everybody walking around with umbrellas. Like that is
Gotcha.
totally a thing because most people use public transportation, especially in the greater Tokyo area. So it's not a
Oh,
car-driven country. Yeah.
all right. Well, now that I think we're more aware since we've been living through this COVID pandemic
Mhm.
and we all have been wearing our masks.
Mhm.
But I do find, tell me if I'm wrong, over in Japan, it's more common to wear a mask.
Yeah, all
It
over
was it
Asia.
it wasn't a pandemic thing that brought this on.
Not at all. Um, Again, courtesy is king. So if I have a cold sore, it means I may have some cooties with my breathing. And,
Herpes?
yeah, okay. And, if I have a cough, I don't wanna get you sick, person who's very close to me on the train. So, we're using masks is a way of life, and the kids are used to it, and the adults, they wear them when it's necessary.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, they're very, very used to it. So, I would not be alarmed by anybody wearing a mask because it's very typical. The social norm is to be considerate of the people around you. And you're looking at a city like Tokyo. Tokyo has um 1/3 the population of the western seaboard of the United States in 1/6 of that area. So people are packed together. So having common courtesy for the people around you and being considerate is a huge part of surviving together in such close quarters.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And they need to develop like a butt mask. Because if
Yeah.
you're having a little gas and you're that close, come on.
You know what? Knowing the Japanese, they probably will. They probably will. It could already exist. Who knows? We'll have to check the
So
100 yen
I
store.
think this is going to be one of my biggest challenges
Mhm.
when I ever travel to Japan. Let's talk language.
Yes. Okay. So this is probably the number 2, travel barrier for people going there, is the kanji, the writing and the language. The first thing that I like to say about the Japanese language is it's grammatically set up like Latin Romance languages. So it has the same grammar system of Italian or Spanish. So already you know a lot about it just because you have familiarity with that. The next thing that I have to say is that pretty much the entire country, I mean, you have to really get into some nooks and crannies not to have this. They have a whole written sub language called Romanji. And what that means is it's the kanji word spelt out with the Roman alphabet. So you can actually read the signs. It's all subtitled. All the kanji is subtitled in Romanji. So when you are trying to navigate, you are trying to go places, you can read the signs there. There are very few places that I ever saw that didn't have it. Basically, if a tourist is going there, it exists. So, and quite frankly, the greater Tokyo area, very few people don't speak English. So I think language being a barrier should not be at the top of so many people's list, because I do think that it's far easier than maybe people give themselves credit. Conversely, learn some of the language. The first three things that I learned to say in Japanese were, please, thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. Which is
Well, I do feel that language is going to be a barrier for me. So if I'm traveling, should I stay near a certain area, or is it free range, being of limited knowledge of the area?
okay, so my suggestion is for someone who's going there for the first time, I would stick to the Kanto Plain, which is the area that's Greater Tokyo. And quite frankly, you can expand that to Mount Fuji and Kyoto. I think if you stay between Tokyo to the west and Kyoto to the east, or I take that back, I just mixed them up. Kyoto to the west and Tokyo to the east, and to get my map together in my mind. I think if you stay between there, you will have a far more successful first visit. There is so much in that area. I could not possibly tell you. It took me 3 years and I did not get enough done in the time that I was there. Like, and I still didn't see it all.
So
So
we have to go back.
yes, you will not be at a lack of things to do in Japan. It just doesn't exist.
Okay, moving on from basics.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get a little freaky and talk about some culture shock.
Oh my gosh.
I want to know about the squatty potties, because we've talked about airlines, and I do not like to use the airline toilets.
No.
I do not like to use porta potties whatsoever. So tell me about the squatty potties.
Okay. I was mentioning this to someone that I work with the other day, and she said they all use those squatty potties. And it occurred to me that what an American may think a squatty potty is that, as seen on TV, little stool you put in front of the regular toilet. This is not what I am talking about. I am telling you that in many places, and this is the traditional way, in many places, there are uh, potties that are totally inside the ground. They're modern, they flush, they're made of porcelain, but they are even with the floor. And you have to squat down to do your business.
How am I going to get back up?
There are some that have bars in them, like the
Okay,
old people bars to help
that's
you.
what I would need. That's what I would need.
But have no fear, because Japan is very tourist friendly, in my opinion, very traveler friendly. And I actually have a picture of an entire electronic diagram at a truck stop that we stopped on the highway by Mount Fuji. And it had a diagram of which stalls were the squatty potties and which one were the American style toilets. And then it had a light that was green or red to tell you which one was open. It was like a
I
whole
do,
big map.
I do like the light thing,
Yes.
to
Yes.
know that it's occupied. But you know
Yes.
what? I was kind of jealous when you did talk about your heated potty seat.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Um, in the top 5 things that I miss from living in Japan, I will tell you one of them is waking up in the morning and sitting down to do one's business first thing in the morning on a warm toilet seat. It was a pleasant experience, not the jolting cold experience that we have here in our great United States. Why this is not a standard concept across the world is beyond me. The Japanese are right. Heat the potty seat so that when you sit down, you aren't jarred awake from a freezing butt.
You,
I don't understand
if our husbands truly loved us, they would sit on our potty and warm it up for us in the morning.
it.
That could be more than we bargained for.
Oh, I don't know.
Next topic of discussion is music.
Yes.
Music, because I do feel that there's random music that goes on.
I
It
remember telling you about this.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember writing home to you about this. So we lived in a great community called Atsugi, and when I was walking home one day with my umbrella to our Japanese style house, I heard this like chiming music through the community. It was like this cute little song, and I realized it was coming from the school down the street. And every day at 5 o'clock, this music would play, and I didn't realize what it was. But again, Japan puts consideration of others first. They played this music every day to tell the little children what time it was, to tell the older people what time it was, all for different reasons. So the older people knew it was time to stop gardening in the communities and go home, because a lot of retired Japanese people kind of volunteer in the local parks,
Okay.
which are amazing. And it also told the kids it's time to go home. And it was like this sweet little chiming song to keep everybody independent. It allowed everybody to kind of do what they needed to do, get the reminder when they needed to get it as a community. And you would see kids kind of start making their way home and people kind of coming out of the park. And I was like, this is amazing. And we really enjoyed it. My kids were in elementary school and they could go to the neighborhood park, which was huge. And when the chimes came on, they knew it was time to start walking home. It worked out perfectly. I completely agree with this. However, Japan is an incredibly safe country. I'm very little um, major crimes happens in that country, and the kids can be out by themselves, and they don't need to be helicoptered like we do here. So random music, you don't know why it's there. That's why it's there, to help the community. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm packed. I'm ready to
Uh-huh.
go.
Uh-huh.
Can I, how much yen do I need to take with me?
Okay, so yen is the currency in Japan, and 100 yen roughly equals a dollar. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And I will say this about yen. Japan is perfectly credit card happy, but if you truly want all the experiences that Japan has to offer, you're going to need more yen in your pocket than you would somewhere else. Um, I think if you want to try out the super cool vending machines or video games or food stalls, you're going to need more yen. And that's really where the true fun lies. I can't tell you how many times my kids and I would be in a department store and they had video games that we never played before. And we would sit for hours and pay, 10 yen to play. And for hours, it was $2 worth of money to enjoy these games, and we had so much fun. So like those are things that you will not get if you are a credit card only person. So I do think you need more yen than you may think.
So pack my yen.
Yeah, get your yen. Hmm.
Okay, so thinking back as I was younger, when you thought of Japan, all I could remember is Hello Kitty.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
is it still a big to do over there?
There's a Hello Kitty theme park.
Oh,
Yes. It's all Hello Kitty, the Sanrio theme park. Yes, Japan. Um, One of the many faces of Japan, you have the traditional face where you think of Zen and shrines and temples and, that great inner peace, the feng shui, all that kind of stuff. Then you have modern technology Japan. You cannot talk about Japan without talking about all the cuteness that's there. Everything is made to be adorable. Adorable is the standard. So, when you go to eat like a sticky bun in the morning, expect a cat face to be staring back at you. These are the people who created pictures in your cappuccino.
oh,
Like these are the people who created all of that. They're the creators of Hello Kitty. This is where the Harajuku movement started. Anime exists there. You are going to run into a sincere amount of cute, and you have to definitely be prepared to feel that saccharine, for lack of a better way of saying it.
I have I have to be able to embrace it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Embrace the cuteness.
yeah, and everything is like very, very cutie cute, so
And
it's
I'm
there.
a cutie cute. I'm a cutie
Yeah,
cute girl.
yes, yes. And remember, they don't use knives. Everything's even cut up cute, like in the food, it's
How
everything.
sweet.
Yes, exactly. This is
What
what I'm saying.
what really excites me, and I so want to try this, and
Uh-huh.
I think it should be everywhere.
Hmm.
You're flying and you're tired and you're in an airport. I want to stay in one of those capsule hotels.
Oh, one of the icons of Japan, the Capsule
Yes.
Hotel. They did,
Please.
yeah, they did start at airports. You're absolutely right. They started at the airport and they've become more and more popular. So it's like a single mattress inside this little capsule, and Google them. You'll see pictures of them. They're totally decked out with all the technology that you can think of. I think that they're fabulous for solo travelers. Here's why. First of all, they're super cheap, and you can rent them for a block of hours. So, like, you could say 6 hours, like if you're catching a train and you just need to get a little shut eye, that's great. They're single sex floors. So, like, there's a male elevator and a female elevator, and
Woo!
those males can't get to the female floors, and the females can't get to the male floors.
I feel like I'm
So,
back in college.
yes, it is kind of like that. You're right.
It's the
So,
girls' floor.
it's a girl's floor. Yes. So I think for the solo traveler, I think it's an incredible experience. There are, I don't find there to be too many choices where they have like a family choice. I've seen it one time when the Duggars went on 19 Kids and Counting, and they went to Japan and they rented an entire floor for the family.
Oh yeah.
They did. They made that. That was one exception I've seen Japan make.
Okay, but
Yeah.
could we stay in one together?
No, we would need two
Oh.
because they're small. They're like cot size.
Will we like have adjoining doors?
There are no doors.
Oh. I still want to do it. I still want to do it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but we
so
can totally stay there. I get the top one.
okay. So now that we think about it,
Mhm.
there's a lot of absurd things that you can just sit there and say when you're over there in Japan going, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Oh
I
my
can't
God.
believe this is happening.
Yeah.
Do you have examples of that for us?
Oh my God. All the time. Okay. I can't even tell you how many times I would say to myself in my brain, I can't believe I'm doing this. I have fed lions through bars. I have I have been in Japan in a Chinatown in a Brazilian restaurant eating steak. I have tried on warrior clothes. I can't even tell you, it's so many places. The absurd and surreal of it, I think, is part of the experience of doing it. I have made plastic sushi magnets. I have there's so many things that you wind up being able to do. You can't believe you're doing them. And the Japanese do these things so well. They do them so well. I can't tell you. The funniest one that I can tell you where I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I was in the region of Nagano, which is where the last Japanese Olympics were held, and and I was on the side of a mountain, which was an issue for me. And I can't believe I'm doing this. And the snowflakes are coming down. It's gorgeous. And we're going to see the famous Japanese snow monkeys. And this woman kept on saying to us, our tour guide, she kept on saying to us, don't look at the monkeys in the face. They'll scratch your eyes out. Don't give the monkeys anything. They'll scratch your eyes out. She kept on saying, they'll scratch your eyes out. They'll scratch your eyes out. After all of her warnings. And I was like, why am I bringing my children here again? Why do you keep saying this to me? And then she taught us how to sing like a snow song, like a children's snow song, after freaking me out about my
Then your
kids' eyes.
children aren't going to have any eyes.
So I was so concerned with my kids, like, as we're walking in, and I'm like, okay, don't look at them, don't touch them, don't engage with them. And I'm standing there saying it, and my kids are like, but mom, and I'm like, let me finish. And 2 inches from my face, I was so dead, is like the grandpa snow monkey with a look on his face like, welcome to Walmart. I thought,
So he didn't want to scratch your eyes out.
he did it. He wound up being very kind. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Some of the situations you find yourself in, you just can't believe you're doing these things. And all you could do is laugh. But that's part of the fun of Japan. That's what makes it so much fun.
Okay, let's talk about probably my favorite topic. Food.
Mm-hmm.
Food and all things food. So if I'm going to go to Japan and any restaurant, any place I go into, what is the common thing that I'm going to find on the menu? What is the standard?
The gold standard in any restaurant anywhere in Japan are 2 things. Fish is going to be on the menu and tea is going to be served. Like we get glasses of water in the United States, you get a cup of tea. In those Japanese little tiny teacups that you see, they're not the English kind with the handle. You are going to get that. And quite frankly, I don't understand how anybody would expect any different. When you look at the big fish market in Tokyo, that provides 16% of the world's fish. So,
Wow.
like,
So you're
yeah,
saying I'm going to get hot tea. I'm not going to get me some iced tea.
you're not getting that sweet tea. You're not getting
Okay.
sweet tea.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So being
yeah.
in Japan, and I'm a huge sushi person, but I
Uh-huh.
think I'm an American sushi person. But tell me about this. I always heard y'all talk about it, the sushi go round. And I know if there was a child of yours that probably loved that the best would have been Ryan.
That's right. Ryan was the sushi go round king.
I
So
mean,
we lived basically in what you would call the suburbs, right? And over the supermarket in the suburbs was a great restaurant, and they were pretty much everywhere. And it was a conveyor belt that brought one piece of sushi on a very small plate, and you could just take it off the conveyor belt as you liked. You could take the ones that you liked off the conveyor belt or specially order something, and it would just come right by your table. So there are a ton of restaurants where you hit a buzzer. You never raise your hand for a waiter or a waitress in Japan. There's always a buzzer on the table and they will come to you. You
Buzz, buzz,
never,
buzz.
yes, you never have to flag someone down. It's a silent buzzer. They know that you need them. And the novelty of all the restaurants there, like the sushi go round, where the sushi comes to your table, you just take it off the conveyor belt. There are ninja restaurants. There are places where you catch your own fish for dinner, which we did, and the fish moved on the plate after it was cut up, and I
Oh, no.
freaked me out. Yes, and there are places where you go to cafes where you can have tea with bunnies or cats or puppies or guinea pigs. You name it. There are so many novelty restaurants in Japan. You kind of can't pass them up. They're
I,
that great.
I do appreciate you bringing the guinea pigs. That was very kind of you. But my next favorite, this is probably surpasses sushi,
Mm-hmm.
but ramen.
Oh,
Who
ramen.
doesn't love a big bowl of ramen?
Let's just take a minute and take in the fact that these are the
Oh,
people who invented the cup of noodles. These are the people. This is cup of noodles homeland. So that instant soup that we're used to in the United States is a whole nother level when you have real ramen. It is amazing. And there are plenty of ramen houses across the country to try. And they are very much, I would say, what Olive Garden and Texas Roadhouse is to America, the ramen house and the sushi go round are to Japan.
that's a beautiful analogy.
How's that, right? So,
Yes.
I would the possibilities are so endless when it comes to ramen. What kind of broth you want, what kind of toppings you want, what you want to go with it. And these places give you huge amounts of food. So be ready to split things. You're going to need it. It's a ton of food and it is so good. Don't compare what you get in the little plastic package in the supermarket in America with what they serve in Japan. If you've never had real ramen, you must have real ramen. It is an amazing experience. Amazing.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
What's the deal with eating stuff on a stick? I mean, I know when we go to the fair, you get a corn dog, but what
Yeah,
is it in Japan?
it is more delicious in Japan. So, at a lot of the fairs and festivals, which are numerous, they serve a lot of food on a stick. Remember, they're not silverware people. They're not fork and knife people. They're spoon and chopsticks people. So
Mm-hmm.
serving things on a stick is very easy for them because they don't have to give utensils, which is far more efficient.
Yeah.
So you will find everything on a stick, especially at fairs and festivals there. Um, my kids' favorite by far, and they've had everything from donuts on a stick to octopus on a stick. They will eat
Mm-hmm.
anything. If it came on a stick, they would eat it. Okay. My kids' favorite thing by far was corn on the cob on a stick. If they saw a vendor that had that, it was over. Game over. We're eating this. Nobody's moving until we eat this. That's how good everything is. They just know what they're doing. They just know what
Now,
they're doing.
do they think that corn is a vegetable or not?
Okay, there is a huge argument in my house on whether or not corn is a starch or a vegetable. And I think nutritionally it's a starch, but categorically it's a vegetable. I agree with you. I would say in that case, they thought it was the whole meal
There you
because
go.
it was that good. Yes.
And you know what I find really fascinating? Because over here, if you need a soda, you can go to a vending machine and get you a soda, get you a candy bar. But Japan takes it to a whole new level.
Um, we live in the prehistoric age of the vending machine in this country. When I tell you the vending machines in Japan far outdo, like, I've watched a vending machine make a hot dog and squirt the ketchup on for us, like, literally roast the hot dog, put it in the bun, squirt the ketchup on it, and serve it on, like, a mechanical hand to my child.
How great is that? Give
I've
them
seen
give them some yen and send them to the vending machine for dinner.
5-course meal. Unbelievable. Hot coffee? No problem. Here's a can of
Beer?
hot coffee. Beer? Fine, no problem. Have a nice cold beer. You want sweets? Absolutely no problem. We'll cook the cookie for you. We'll bake it for you as before we serve it to you. Ice cream, fresh scooped. I can't even tell you, like, the most amazing. I it was just fascinating to me to watch these machines work, and there was no shortage of them. Everywhere you turned, there were machines like this, especially at the train station. One thing, though, about vending machines that a lot of people don't know, there are not public trash cans everywhere, and you do need to be kind of in charge of your own trash. There's no place to dispose of it right away. You need to dispose of it kind of like you're responsible for it. So it's a good idea to carry like a plastic bag with you so that you can put that.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not everywhere. Recycling, they'll do. They have community recycling, but not community trash cans. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
yeah.
Okay, wrapping up our food section because you would
Uh-huh.
always send me goodie boxes
Yes.
and had some of the most unique
Hmm.
things. So, talk about the convenience stores and the snacks because what you sent me was amazing.
Yeah. Well, do you remember what was the convenience store that you were talking about in Dallas?
Bucky's,
Bucky's. Do you remember how many things were in Bucky's?
thousands, millions.
Take that and compress it into a Japanese size convenience store that exists probably one every 2 to 3 blocks in Japan. And
Wow.
it existed everywhere. And what's super cool about all the food in Japan is the difference in flavor. There's matcha, there's green tea, there's things that you would not think of, and typical things that we Americans are used to. And the two famous ones that come to mind are Pringles and Kit Kats.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Let me tell you something. Try a cherry blossom Kit Kat. Like nothing you've ever had. Try
Oh,
ice cream. Try ice cream that's flavored wasabi. Try it like yeah,
ooh.
amazing things, and you need to be a little bit adventurous in order to really enjoy all of it, but there is no shortage of cute, unique to Japan snacks and convenience stores in which to buy them. I would totally do that.
Awesome.
Totally do that.
Okay, so now that we have filled our bellies,
Mhm.
let's talk about what we want to do, like exploring all the different neighborhoods. Now, you did mention earlier that there's tons of festivals in Japan.
There are. Yes. And I will say this, the neighborhoods are what make Japan amazing. Like when you're getting ready to really do a deep dig into Japan and really enjoy what's there, I would have to say that the neighborhoods kind of give you a taste of Japan that you won't get at all the icons. And by far, please visit all the icons. The only one that I would probably leave out is Tokyo Tower. I just don't think it's that big of a deal, but people go to it. I don't get it. I would go into those neighborhoods in the suburbs, and the one that I would recommend that I know best is called Yamato. Um, there are festivals there, seasonal festivals, neighborhood festivals that you can kind of just join in on. There are parks in these communities that are so unique. They're not just a typical playground set. They are full of waterfalls and bouncy clouds and pirate ship playgrounds and gardens and walking paths, and they're far more intricate, and they're community driven, which is amazing. um, a lot of these communities have flea markets where you can find, like, to me, that's one of the best places to find those really unique souvenirs, is in those flea markets. I recommend a great town called Yamato. It's on a train line. It's pretty easy to find, about an hour outside of downtown Tokyo, and I think it's totally worth a place like that. And then the other thing that you're going to find in the burbs, along with the sushi go rounds and the ramen houses, is the 100 yen store, which
Yay!
I mean, the first box that I ever sent you, we had no idea what we were doing. We had no idea what we were buying. We went in with a post office box, um, from the American post office on the base that we were living on, and we literally filled it up with whatever looked interesting. We had no idea what the packaging said. We had no idea what half the stuff was, but it was kind of like, let's mystery shop, and we sent it home to you.
Let me tell you, those little magnets that came in there, I love
Mhm.
them. I think I
Yeah.
still have them on the side of my desk at work. They're these little bitty magnets. They're amazing. I want to
Mhm.
go to the 100 yen store.
And it was just, there was no lack of stuff. Like, it's just amazing the amount of stuff that they have, and you just couldn't go wrong. The most popular 100 yen store is the Daiso, and I really truly do recommend this. Set yourself up where you know where the post office is. Go to the Daiso, have fun, fill up your box, and send it home. It'll be waiting for you when you get home, but go ahead and spend the money on that. I am telling you, it's been a couple of years since I've lived there, and both you and I have so many things from the Daiso that have lasted all these years. I still have book bins in my classroom, all kinds of stuff. It's crazy how much I really do rely on a lot of those things, and I'm very used to them now. So, neighborhoods,
Wow.
definitely worth it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now you've taught, you've shared etiquette, language,
Mhm.
food, shopping. How am I going to get around? What's the best way for us to travel about?
Okay, honesty time. I have to tell you, I never really paid attention to Japan, until I was told I was moving there. And I didn't realize how much people found the public transit system intimidating. And I have to say, I don't think it's intimidating at all. I think if you take a minute and you breathe, it's set up no differently than anywhere else. I think the trains are clean, friendly, and easy to use. There are a few etiquette rules to know with that. Like, the people come off the plane first, and people do line up to get on the train. Like, they don't just all crowd in. There's a line. Um, I think that just knowing that you'll be able to phonetically read anywhere is very helpful. And the most important thing that I would suggest is making sure you have a paper map, because I will tell you, I was never in a train station where somebody didn't offer help to me. If I asked for help, I got absolutely all the help I needed. I was never steered wrong by the locals. They're amazing, courteous, helpful, generous people. And it is one of the biggest things I miss about living there, is how amazing their their spirit is, because there was never a time when I was in a train station that somebody didn't point me in the right direction. I don't think it's a big deal at all. It's a very large map, but it's still just a map and it's still just train station after train station. There are a few tricky times in a train station that you do have to be careful. Um, every once in a blue moon, you may wind up in a situation where you have to transfer trains and maybe walk through what feels like a department store or walk out of a train station and then back into it. But if you ask where you're staying or you kind of look it up, they're pretty good about telling you like walk outside and then walk back inside the east exit or something like that. They're pretty good about telling you. So I don't think that you'll have too much of a problem. I think by far the bigger issue is driving. And the
I
number
can't even
one
imagine. I can't even
yeah,
imagine.
the number one driving rule in Japan is always just every time you're turning a corner, you've got to say to yourself and almost chant it, driver in the middle, driver in the middle, driver in the middle, because the driver, no matter where you are in the world, will always be toward the middle of the road in the car. They'll be in the seat closest to the middle of the road in the car, no matter where you are. So if you're in England driving, if you're in Italy driving, if you're in Africa driving, you're always in the middle of the road. So as long as you kind of keep that mantra, you can kind of drive anywhere. But that isn't the tricky part. The tricky part is the majority of streets and roads in Japan do not have names. They're just not named. So
Wow.
yeah, so you have to drive by landmark. And I swear to you, this is true. I had to drive from my base to the local army base. So we lived on the Navy base and I had to go to the vet on the army base. And these were the directions that I got. Okay. This is how we think, how the Americans thought in Japan. Oh, it's easy. Go out the main gate and go up to the gorilla and hang a right. Then go over the railroad tracks. You know where I'm talking about on Chicken Coop Road? Once you get to the end of Chicken Coop Road, go ahead and just swing a right. Go past the Blue Elephant, about a light and a half, and go ahead and make a left, and you'll see the gate to go in.
Wow.
That's how we got around. So by far, get on the train. The moral of the story is the train is far easier than driving.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So, getting to the end of my list here,
Uh-huh.
you were in Japan for 3 years,
Three and a half.
3.5. Who's counting, right?
Yeah, I was.
Um, I know. What were some of the favorite, like, day trips that you could take? What were some of
Oh,
the favorites in your household?
okay. So, to give you context, I lived under the first O in Tokyo. So, if you look at a map and it says Tokyo, I live like straight under that first O. So, I was on the south side of the city, but in the suburbs again. And that's called the Kanto Plain, that area between the water and Mount Fuji. So, we could see Mount Fuji on clear days, like it was gorgeous. And here are probably, I want to say, mm, I think probably about 10 amazing day trips from Tokyo that you could take. Okay.
Okay.
The first one that I would say is definitely go to Disney. It's a very different experience in Japan, and it gives you one of those surreal moments because it's hilarious to listen to them tell you the Tower of Terror story in Japanese. So
Mhm.
it's very funny. Uh, so you really like it. And all of the characters have an Australian accent.
Love
So
it.
yes, enjoy the suburbs in Yokohama. Yokohama is where the tallest building is. It's not in Tokyo, it's in Yokohama. And there are a couple of things there, including the Ramen Museum, which is a lot of fun. My favorite seaside place in the Kanto Plain is learning about the big Buddha in Kamakura, which is south of Tokyo.
Mhm.
I loved that town. It was the place where I brought every visitor. The big Buddha is there. There's a temple there. There's incredible food between the train station and the shrine. There is actually a little place called Little Mexico. There were great Mexican restaurants there. There was an aquarium, a beach. Like there was a ton to do there, and it's very quaint and lovely. So I love that. I love the castle at Odawara. It was a great lesson in the samurai and the feudal system. I do think that if you are going to Tokyo and you don't take on some aspect of Fuji, you're missing out. So if you do want to hike up Mount Fuji, I would definitely do it from the eastern side, and you can read about the different trails to go up Mount Fuji. You'll have to do that in it starts in late June and it ends in August, is the climbing season. But there are other things to do on Mount Fuji besides just climb to the summit, although I do think you should do that if you have the chance. 80-year-old people do it, 6-year-old kids do it. You can do it. It takes one day. But there is an amazing amusement park called Fuji Q, which has some of the most advanced roller coasters, the biggest, fastest roller coasters in the world. Some of them are there. Fuji Safari Park, that's the place where I fed the lions. I'm still a little mad with the monkeys that are there. They stole my son Connor's glasses.
We all know he needs them.
He needs them. The Five Lakes area, including Lake Yamanaka, which is part of Fuji Five Lakes, which is amazing. If you're a nature lover, go to Fuji Five Lakes. Check out also the onsen area in Hakone. Onsens are the hot springs, and many onsens are full buff. There are no clothes in them.
So I'm going skinny dipping?
It's skinny dipping in the hot springs and nobody blinks twice. But there are some in the Hakone area that do have clothes. This is one of those places where you have to think about the tattoos you may have. This would be like one of those places where that's a relevant factor. But otherwise, you're pretty good.
My children would have to be in bodysuits.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are a lot of military guys would go out there and they would be refused service because they have them. It's just not part of what they do there. It's a non-existent thing, and they equate it with their gangs, which are called Bozozuko. And so they only see it in that negative light. They don't see it the way Americans do in the artistic light. So It is something to kind of keep, it's a cultural respect thing. And I don't, yeah. And then the other thing that I would do is if you're already at Fuji, go ahead and get yourself and just put yourself a little bit further to Kyoto, because it is very traditional. And one of the most incredible experiences by Kyoto is Nara, where there are domesticated deer that kind of roam the whole city. It's really amazing. So those are my 10 big moments that I would definitely, if you're going to fly into Tokyo, those are the things that you should do for sure.
I'm ready to pack my bags.
You should. And in order to get everybody started, we've come up with the ultimate 2-week starter kit over on our blog. We have an entire itinerary for you to follow that will help you kind of fit all of those things in and get you in and out of Tokyo, including a bullet train, which is a great experience, and let you kind of customize from this basic list. So I think it's a great place to start. And I think Japan should be on everybody's bucket list. It's certainly well worth the time and experience.
The travel industry has taken quite a blow from several global issues, including the war in Ukraine, the climb out of the COVID-19 crisis, and inflation that makes it hard for people to get out into the world like they want to. At this point, leading experts are predicting that it's going to take up to 3 years for the travel industry to bounce back to full force. One way that you can help the travel industry is to like and subscribe to 10 microbloggers. Each time you do, you're telling all those travel industry experts that you are ready to enjoy everything that the world has to offer, and you can start with us.
That's right. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and even LinkedIn at Babcia and Yia Yia. That is Babcia and YIA. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us at babciandyaya@gmail.com with your questions, suggestions, favorite travel tips, products, and travel trends so that we can share your ideas in the future.
Babcia and Yia Yia is our home base for everything we love about travel. It's where our blog and show notes live and where we share access to all of our resources, including travel literacy for kids. We always have new posts about all the things we love about travel, including today's topics, as well as featured destinations, travel lifestyle, and stories to make you smile.
Didn't get all of that? No worries. Just check out our show notes for all of the ways to stay in touch and links to anything we chatted about in this episode. As always, thanks for joining us for our journey.